Yo, we are back. Finally,
yes, sir.
We're finally back. I know some of you are wondering, why did it take so long to drop this episode? But as some of you may know, we had a power outage in Houston. The weather obviously took most of our lights out, so we weren't able to record to, talk about some of the hottest topics in sports. And we just, pray if you're affected out there, we feel really sorry for you. We hope that, there's several resources out there that you can use to find some help. But we are back. Welcome to First Possession. I am your host, Sean Iagoro, here with my partner, David Ogden-Bay, here with you with some of the hottest topics in sports. But before we start the show, let's just, we received some breaking news this afternoon. Tiger Woods got in a car crash, and, we just want to send our prayers, our thoughts, condolences to him and his family. We hope that, he has a speedy recovery, because we do not want to see one of our own go again. And, we just hope that everything is fine at the end of the day. But, yeah, that's that for that. But let's dive straight into it. Last night, the Los Angeles Lakers lost to the Washington Wizards. They're losers of 4 out of their last 5. My friend, I think it might be time to hit the panic button. Tell me what you think, because I'm going to get in on them. But I just want to hear what you have to say about the Lakers right now.
I think that this stretch that they're going through without Anthony Davis, it really hurts, because he was their defensive anchor. And not only was he their anchor, but he motivates them on defense, which I guess is the role of an anchor anyway. Yeah. But when you watch them over these past couple of games, they're in games that they shouldn't be, these games shouldn't be close. Like the Wizards, the Thunder, the Pistons. They even lost to the Pistons. They went to overtime without Shea.
Yep.
So a lot of these losses and a lot of these games could be avoidable. And if I'm not mistaken, they just lost their first overtime game to the Wizards. So they weren't even losing overtime games. Now they're losing them. And a lot of people may say it's a testament to Russell Westbrook and Beal and how good they played, which they did. Beal, unlike a lot of the other games, actually showed up in the fourth quarter, because he's actually struggled in fourth quarter scoring, but he showed up, well, not in the fourth, but in overtime, he was hitting some really big shots. But regardless, the Lakers defensively, they looked discombobulated. Yep. They did not look organized. Montrezl Harrell looks worse on the defensive end every single day without Anthony Davis on the court. And I think that when you put more responsibility on certain players to step up, like Kuz, Caruso, they can have their moments, but because they're role players and we don't expect out of them the level of productivity that we expect out of a LeBron or an Anthony Davis, it's going to be harder for them to beat certain teams, and certain games are going to slip away, like the game against the Wizards. They should have won that game.
Yeah. They
were up double digits in the third quarter and at halftime, and the fact that they weren't able to close that out is a testament to how much they miss Anthony Davis and Dennis Schroeder. Don't forget, they're also missing Dennis Schroeder, who's another piece on that defensive side of the ball. He's evolved into being one of their better perimeter defenders and a playmaker. But, yeah, right now, things they don't look great. But I do think that when Anthony Davis gets back, things will get back to normal. I think they're somewhat coasting.
Wow.
I think they are somewhat coasting. Because when you look at that team, they've all won a championship already outside of Harrell, right? And Trez, his contributions, it's only offense. He's a hustle guy. Yeah. He's an energy guy. Yeah. He's not given the role that he had with L.A. Like in L.A., they would spam Montrez and Lou Williams pick and rolls every single possession. But now you don't have to do that. You can look for other options to score. So to me, I think the Lakers will be fine. I think if Anthony Davis is healthy, because a lot of people are comparing it to KD's injury. But for one, the Lakers have time. They don't have to bring him back. They don't have a finals in a couple weeks that they have to go to. The Warriors knew they were their championship or bust. That's their expectation. Yeah. So, of course, they were going to rush him back because they had something they wanted to do, and KD wanted to get that third straight ring. So now it's a case where you have a 72-game season. You still have games left. We're at that 25 to 30-game mark, so they have a lot of time to, rest him, make sure he's 100% for the playoffs. And I think if he is, I don't see anybody stopping them from going back to back.
Listen, my friend. You said they have time. I'm here to tell you they don't have time.
Wow, they don't.
Okay, listen. So the recent evaluation we got on Anthony Davis was he'll be back in about 3 to 4 weeks, a week after the All-Star break. Let me ask you a question. Do you think, all right, from after the All-Star break to the end of the regular season, what are the chances of Anthony Davis getting hurt again? I'll say about 50-50.
50-50?
Absolutely. I'll say about 50-50.
I mean, don't you want to be optimistic?
No.
You don't want to be optimistic?
I'll say about 50-50 because he's injury prone. We've seen this before. It's not like this the first time. He got hurt last season, but obviously not for an extended period of time. But first, before I go into this, I want to say something. The 4 teams that made the conference finals last season in the bubble, 3 of the 4 teams that started out slow, the Celtics, the Miami Heat, Denver Nuggets, but the only reason...
And the Raptors.
When you count the Raptors, didn't make the
started
conference
off really
finals,
slow,
but they've started off slow too. The only reason the Lakers didn't start off slow was LeBron came out with energy and fire, and they got a couple of pieces, young pieces, but now we're starting to see some of those tired legs. They're tired. First of all, I know we all like to crown LeBron, this washed king, year 18, age 36. But let's not forget, he's age 36. He's in his 18th year in the league. He's not going to be playing 40 minutes per game. And I think that's what the Lakers are demanding of him at this point in time. And I don't think it's sustainable. Listen, I'm going to say something right now that a lot of people might call me crazy for, but I'm going to live and die on this bridge. The Los Angeles Lakers will not have home court advantage in the first round in the playoffs.
In the first round?
Which means they're going to finish 5th seed.
Oh, my. You think they're going to fall to the 5th seed?
Yes, they are going to fall to the 5th seed. Listen. I want to be totally wrong about this. I want to be wrong. But as I'm just looking, okay, Phoenix is on the roll. The Clippers are always going to be really good. Utah, they don't look like they're slowing down anytime soon. So that's 3 teams.
Wait, so you think Phoenix is a guarantee over them?
Over the Lakers? Yeah. Right now, as it's looking, Phoenix is on the roll right now. And the Lakers
are going
Phoenix, down.
Phoenix, as good as they've been this year, they're still a team that hasn't proven anything yet.
No, I'm not saying overall. I'm just talking about regular season.
And I will admit, here's the thing. It's not like that's an impossible scenario because I do think that them getting a 5th seed is possible. Yeah, that could happen. A 6th seed is possible to happen depending on how long AD's out. And now they're hitting the tougher part of their schedule. Let people need to remember right now, I think they're first with the easiest schedule in the NBA. Yeah. They faced the Pistons. They lost to the Pistons. They faced the Thunder twice back-to-back. And the Wizards, they've already faced the Wizards. I think they have another game against the Wizards later on this season. But a lot of the easy part of their schedule is out the way. So when they have to face those Nuggets, the Jazz, multiple times.
And I hear all this talk of, just calm down. We'll wait till AD gets back. When do we know when AD is going to get back? It's not a guarantee that he's going to be back in 4 weeks. They're going to reevaluate him in 4 weeks. So that means the injury might still be lingering, and they're like, okay, he needs to take some more time off. And I think with the Lakers, Dennis Schroeder's out, but okay, how much he's a really good player for them. Like he's the 6th man, well not 6th man, but obviously he's the second bucket getter. Yeah. And I think that's something that the Lakers really lack on their squad, except for LeBron and AD. Who's that third guy?
I mean, some nights it's Kuzma.
We've said that for the last 2 years, and in the playoffs, he never really shows that he's the third guy.
I mean, but he stepped up in the postseason last year when they needed him to.
Okay,
he made some big shots.
Everybody stepped up for the Lakers.
Okay, and that's how I look at the Lakers. Like I look at the Lakers as if they have LeBron and they have Anthony Davis, they're set because they have role players to where. They don't need all of them to make big shots. They just need occasional games here and there. Like last year in the postseason, we saw Rondo stepped up some games. Yeah. AC stepped up some games. Kuzma stepped up some games. Now this year, sure, they don't have Rondo, but they have Schroeder. They have Harrell. They have THT, who is going to probably knock down some big shots for them come postseason time. Wesley Matthews has some experience in the playoffs. Not only with the Bucks, but with the Mavericks, the Blazers. He's been all over the league. He has some postseason experience. They have guys that have proven themselves in the playoffs still on their roster and guys that are joining their team that have stuff to prove, like Schroeder. Schroeder, I believe, is on the last year of his deal, so he wants to show out. And if he has a nice performance come postseason time, he's going to get a bag. So a lot of these guys have incentives to play well in the playoffs, and they already are proven in the postseason. So I think they just need one of those guys to step up.
And another thing is, I'm worried for LeBron, okay? It's crazy to sound because this guy, he looks like he can play to his, 43 because of the way he's going. But
he takes care of his body.
Absolutely. This month in February, he's averaging the most minutes in the league.
Actually, over the last 15 games, LeBron is averaging 38 minutes a game.
38 minutes a game.
38 minutes.
That's just right under 40
unacceptable.
at 36 in his 18th year. I don't think that's gonna last because I think at the end of the year he's gonna burn out.
Okay, but don't you think that LeBron is the guy that, like, I'm not saying we should put these kind of minutes on his body, but if anybody can handle this, it's LeBron. Because we've seen LeBron,
let me tell
even
you,
just a couple of years ago. I know this was like 3 years ago, but even years ago, we saw it in, I believe, year 16 or 15. You know, he went out there in 2018 and dominated regular season and postseason, and he had way more of a load.
He hasn't taken a game off this season. And you know what happens when you start playing high minutes and you start playing all those games back to back? What tends to happen? We've probably never seen this with LeBron because he stayed injury free his entire career, but those injuries start to come. It might be a sprained ankle, it might be this, it might be that. And once that tends to happen, because we don't know how long AD is going to be out, because I keep hearing, oh, AD is going to come back, AD is going to come back. With Achilles injury, you have to
you don't want to rush
really
it.
careful with it. You have to be super, like, you have to nurture that thing to like the max. And with AD, with that Achilles injury, do we know when he's going to be back? It might be maybe sometime in March, sometime in April. Who knows? And LeBron is always going to keep having to play all these high minutes, and I just don't think it's sustainable because the Lakers, when I look at, okay, let's take AD out the picture, right? AD's out right now. So it's LeBron. Who's the next guy? You know what I'm saying? Is it Kuzma? Is it Harrell? Is it Schroeder? Who's the next guy? Because when you look at other teams, they have a next guy with other contenders.
But don't the Lakers owe, like, aren't they owed the right for us to say, let's wait for the playoffs?
No.
We saw what happened last year.
Absolutely not. Because
these same questions that you're asking were asked last year, and they stepped up.
The teams this season are better than last season. Utah is better. The Clippers,
and they still don't have a real number two.
The Clippers are better.
And we still need to see PG play well.
The Suns are now in contention.
The Suns haven't proven anything.
Okay, Portland added some pieces.
Portland, we've seen that. We've been there already. Denver was a bubble experience.
We'll see.
All of those teams.
But I'm saying all these teams got better, so it's not going to be.
Denver didn't get better.
It's not going to. Okay,
Denver didn't. They lost Jeremy Grant and Miles Plumlee. They didn't get better.
So they're always going to be in contention.
So you think the Nuggets can beat the Lakers in a 7-game series?
I don't think so, but I'm saying the top teams in the West, because last year, who were the top teams in the West? The Clippers, who was in their first
So are you
year.
saying that you don't think the Lakers are the favorites to come out the West anymore?
Right now, because right now I think the Clippers are the favorites.
You think the Clippers are the favorites?
Right now the Clippers are the favorites because right now the Lakers, they're tired.
So you trust PG in the playoffs?
First of all, I think this year's a different PG. So
we say that every year, man.
I'm just gonna say that.
We say that every year.
The Lakers are tired, bro. They are tired. LeBron is in his 18th year.
Okay, but don't you think if they're tired, they can coast?
Bro, you don't have time to coast, bro.
Yes, you do.
It's a short season. It's a 72-game season. You lose 4 to 5 games straight, bro.
I don't think they're gonna coast like that. But I'm talking about
the 6th seed.
But I'm talking about certain. Like, think about it. Like, they went to, I think, 3 straight overtime games. Like, you're not gonna play full out in every single game you play.
So what you think is gonna happen in the playoffs? You think they're just gonna?
But in the playoffs, it's gonna be different because they have AD. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna be a whole different scenario.
But listen,
obviously, I'm not saying if they don't have AD, they're going to win.
Okay.
That's not what I'm saying. But if they have Anthony Davis, they have other guys that can step up.
If they have a healthy Anthony Davis, absolutely. We both have no problem that they're going to, dominate in the Western Conference. But what I'm saying is that looking at the regular season, right, you don't want to be a 6 seed playing a 3rd seed in the first round or a 5 seed playing a Phoenix Suns in the first round. You want to be a 2 or 3 seed where you're probably playing, I don't know.
But if they're a 2 or 3 seed, that means they play the Clippers in the 2nd round. If the Clippers don't get the first.
That's the 2nd round, not the first round. You don't want to be playing a top team.
At the end of the day, you want to get to at least the conference finals. Because I think even if you're the Lakers, if you lose to the Clippers, it's fine. Because the Clippers, they were favorite. I don't think it's fine. Don't get me wrong.
It's not fine.
I'm not saying it's fine. But I think, like, that's the only team that people could be like, okay, they were a legitimate contender.
Yeah.
If you lose to the Jazz, it's like, you lost to Rudy Gobert. If you lose to the Nuggets, you're like, well, you lost to the bubble Nuggets. Maybe that'll make the Nuggets more valid, but I still highly doubt that.
The only team we might give them a pass against is the Clippers.
Exactly. That's why I said the Clippers are the only team they can lose to.
And that's still a huge, but and
I still don't think that's an excuse.
Yeah,
they shouldn't be losing to the Clippers.
I think it's time to hit the panic button because these teams in the West, they're really good now and they're coming fast, and the Lakers look to be going downhill, and I don't think they have time for that. But can they make some moves? Drummond, I don't think that's going to help them in any way because
They don't even
Boogie
need
Cousins, that's not going to help them. So I look at the
him.
market
Boogie would
like,
just make them worse.
who's out there for the Lakers to pick up? So, we just hope Schroeder and AD comes back healthy.
Yeah.
And, they move on. But anyways, moving on. The Washington Wizards, my friend. Ooh, Russell Westbrook's finally looking like his MVP self. The Washington Wizards have won 5 games, beating teams like the Celtics, the Rockets, the Nuggets, Portland, and recently the Los Angeles Lakers. So, do you think they have found their groove? Listen, I'll say this, right, for the Washington Wizards. Because, obviously starting the season, it was a team that, we all thought, okay, this team can make some noise in the playoffs. This team should be a team that can do damage in the East. So when I look at the Washington Wizards now, I'm like, okay, so what happened? What changed from that point on in the regular season, from the early parts of the regular season to now that they finally found their groove? Was it Russell Westbrook shooting more efficiently? Was it Bradley Beal stepping up? Was it that defense? The defense is still very horribly, so I'm not going to put it on that.
Yeah, it still
But
sucks.
I would say it's the leadership of Russell Westbrook, galvanizing the troops, galvanizing his guys, telling them not to, focus on their record, to just play ball. And I think, everybody else around them is finally stepping up. There was a report that Russell Westbrook gathered everybody in the during practice and asked each and every guy, like, what's your role for this team? And, I think that really helped them, because when you have 2 stars as Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, who knows their role, like, okay, I'm the point guard. I pass the ball to everybody. And Bradley Beal's job is I score the ball. And it's really key that each and every one of those guys know their role. Because if your job is to shoot the ball, when you catch the ball, you shoot the ball. If your job is to rebound, if your job is to, block shots. And I think the Washington Wizards, I think everybody around Bill and Russell Westbrook are finally being comfortable in their role. I watched Danny, I don't know how to say his name, Avia. He looks really good. He seems to be comfortable now. Yeah, he's really nice. He seems to be comfortable in his role now. And the Washington Wizards are fine. They've beaten some really tough teams on this 5-game winning streak. The Celtics, that's a playoff team. The Nuggets, Portland, and recently the Lakers.
Yeah.
And, this was a team that we thought, okay, they could make some noise in the playoffs in the East. And right now, if I'm a team, would I want to play them in the first round? Obviously, because the other team has Russell Westbrook on. Yeah, it's going to be a sweep. But, this is a team, I think, if they get the right matchup in the playoffs, if they make the playoffs, they can cause some damage.
I mean, against who? The Bucks? They're not beating the Bucks.
They're not beating them, but you don't want to be going to a 7-game, 6-game series with the Wizards.
Wait, you think you think? Okay, hold up.
I think the Wizards can take the Bucks 6.
What?
I think they can take the Bucks 6. Yes.
Hold up.
With the Nets, obviously.
Hold up. Wait a minute. You're serious? You think the Wizards can take the Bucks to 6 games?
If they get there.
Dude.
If they get there. That's still a big if, but if they get there.
That's so disrespectful.
I'm just saying.
Dude, you got to stop with the Giannis disrespect. You think that Giannis is going to lose a game to Davis Bertans and Russell Westbrook?
Come on. Bro, the Wizards are figuring it out.
Bro,
they are
if Giannis faces the Wizards in a series, he's going to drop Wilt Chamberlain numbers. That's so disrespectful.
I found the key to the Wizards winning. And you know what the key is?
Dude, stop
Russell Westbrook shooting less threes.
Let me get into what I was going to say. Because you're disrespectful. You're being disrespectful.
I'm just saying. The Wizards, because we thought this was a team that coming in, they could make the playoffs.
Because
not only make the playoffs,
honestly,
but thrive in the playoffs.
I don't like that. I don't like that argument.
Why not?
And I might as well just go now and give my opinion on this about the Wizards situation. There's only one thing you said I agree with. Only one thing, and that is that the Wizards, they are getting better gradually over time. But no, they're not even. They're not even. I still can't believe you think the Bucks can beat.
So wait,
take do in a 7-game series.
Do you think they're gonna make the playoffs?
No,
they're not gonna make the playoffs. Okay.
And I don't think it was fair to really give them. Well, I think it's fair to give them playoff expectations.
Absolutely.
Because of the star power that they have. But I also think we overrated that star power. Like Russell Westbrook. Like we really thought Russell Westbrook was enough for them to make the playoffs, when in reality we need to also understand defense matters. All these people that say defense doesn't matter in the NBA, look at the Washington Wizards. They're one of the best offenses in basketball.
They are.
One of the best. And I'll actually even say this as it pertains to Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook, in the first 19 games of the season, 16 games of the season, Russell Westbrook was attempting 4.5 threes a game.
Oh.
During their 5-game win streak, Russell Westbrook is only attempting, you want to know how many?
9.
1.8. 1.8 threes a game. He's shooting terrible from the free throw line, by the way. I don't know what's up with his free throw percentage.
I have no clue. He
But,
used to be one of the best in the league. But
yeah, but he's turning the ball over. He's still inefficient, but he's still creating shots for others. Because I do think sometimes, because we're so quick to bash Russ for these inefficient games, we overlook some of the other good that he does, and that's creating. He does create shots for other people. Even when Denny hit a really clutch shot for them against the Lakers, the corner 3, Russ created that. You know, Russ creates a lot of open opportunities, especially in transition. He's great in transition still. He still has speed. The only issue is being able to tame that, and we all know Russ is not consistent with that taming ability. But regardless, I think the Wizards, honestly, I really just don't care. I think that people can get hyped over this stretch, but it's only because we haven't seen Russ play good basketball this year.
Yeah.
Now he's playing good basketball. He's not even playing good. He's just playing all right.
Some people want to say, okay, the injury. I don't like to use that excuse because I think
I don't like to use
the injury as an excuse
because everybody's injured.
Everybody, exactly. Nobody's really healthy.
After week 1, everybody has some type of injury.
Absolutely. And my thing is, we know Russell Westbrook's passing abilities. The numbers speak for itself because he's averaged a triple-double the last 3 seasons. And, you know, when Russell Westbrook attacks the rim, good things happen because he can most occasions, good things happen. He either scores or the defense collapses and he passes it out to the ball. I mean, to a shooter. But our problem with Russell Westbrook is when he starts thinking his Steph Curry and starts jacking up threes. And he used to be one of the best mid-range shooters in the entire NBA.
He had a midi.
I don't know what happened to his shot now. That's also gone.
It's called aging.
Absolutely.
That's what happened.
And I think, you know, when he starts attacking more, when he, you know, that opens up the space for Bradley Beal, Daniel Villa, David Bertans, for those shooters that they have. And now, according, he's healthy now. You know, let's hope they can finally get in the groove and, you know, make some things happen. But the Wizards, maybe let's see the next couple of games. Let's see how they are, and maybe we'll start putting some respect on their name.
I'm gonna say this before we move on. I think the Wizards, and I'm going to just be honest here, I think they should blow it up. I don't think it's worth going through all this.
I thought they should have when they traded John Wall. I thought trade Bradley Beal, get some picks, get young pieces.
But the problem is you have Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, what are you going to do with that?
And, what are you going to do? I think what the Wizards should do.
Trade him to anybody.
No. This is what I think the Wizards should do. I think they should trade Bradley Beal immediately. Get what you can for him because his value is as high as it's ever going to be. Yep. This might be his peak value.
Absolutely.
Especially throwing in, barring, knock on wood, injuries. You never know.
Even with injuries, you know, I'm saying he's still.
I mean, yeah, but you never know what. For example, DeMarcus Cousins.
Absolutely.
You know, get what you can now because it's clear it's just not going to work out in Washington, and Washington already has a bad history of just terrible front office decisions. Let's not forget giving Otto Porter the contract they gave him, Ian Mahimi, getting all that money just to be a backup. Them letting Bojan
also.
Yeah, they let Bojan Bogdanovic go, and now look at what he's doing. Not only what he did for Indiana, but what he's doing right now in Utah. And they did that so they could keep Otto Porter and sign him to a big ass contract.
Stupid.
So, like I was saying, their franchise is in shambles right now. Even if they make the playoffs, what is it going to get you? A sweep? Maybe 5 games?
That's what I said.
So,
depends on the matchup you get.
No, they're not even going to. No, I still think they're going to be swept regardless.
I think a first round exit is it's not bad.
Okay, but the fact that that's their peak, the fact that that's the peak of what this season could be, I think that's enough of an indication to throw it away.
As a team, you sort of have to know where you are.
But think about it, bro. Think about it. So you want to?
Everybody can compete.
So you're cool with settling for an 8th seed and paying max dollars to Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal.
Listen. If I know I have an Asian Russell Westbrook and a Bradley Beal, and I know literally they have a bunch of rookies, a bunch of second, third year guys around them, I know our ceiling is probably the 8th, 7th seed. And the first
but we didn't think that coming into the season. Okay, well, coming into the season, we thought they were going to be a bottom seed. We thought they were going to be a bottom seed in the East. But regardless.
Because the Wizards have stunk for the last 3 years. And just like the Knicks, who we're going to talk about later on in the show, you know, when you stunk for the last 2-3 years and you finally make the playoffs.
I mean, in the case of the Knicks, they've been trash for the last couple of decades.
Exactly. So we don't really expect much from you. You know, you add a piece in Russell Westbrook. We just expect you to make the playoffs. You know, obviously in the first part of the season they struggled, and now they're finally getting the groove in. They're finally winning some games, and we just hope they can keep it up. And it's a team I would really watch in the playoffs because they're fun to watch.
Absolutely not, bro.
Russell Westbrook is always fun to watch because the banter increases.
No, I think they're going to be trash.
But anyways, moving on to another team in the East, the Boston Celtics. Ooh, they're 15-15, 500 record. Questions are starting to arise about the Boston Celtics. Kemba Walker, Brad Stevens, somebody who we really give a pass, most times. But now some questions are arising about him. Obviously not him getting fired, but, what's going on with the Celtics right now. And listen, you know what? I'll start with this.
Oh, no. I wanted to go.
Oh, you wanted to go?
I wanted to go. I wanted to go. because Celtics fans.
You know what? I'll let you get in on this because the Celtics, they're a team obviously when they drafted Tatum and they drafted Jaylen Brown, we're like, okay. We didn't know Jaylen Brown was going to be this good, but we seen Jaylen Brown, flourish into a star. And we started saying, you know what? Last year they made it to the conference finals, obviously lost in 6. So maybe this year they'll take a leap and make that jump to, that next level. Yeah. But they started out the season 15-15, 500, which is now they're sitting in what?
It's abysmal.
Fifth place in the East, and they
actually I don't even think that. I don't know. They're somewhere around that 5th, 6th range.
They're only about 2 games out of the 8th seed. So meaning if they lose 2 or 3 more,
you know who's the 8th seed by the way?
Oh, the Chicago Bulls. Yeah. But give me your take on the Boston Celtics right now and what's going on with them.
I think the Celtics. What's going on is that this is not even the players' fault.
Oh,
it's not. This is Danny Ainge's fault.
Oh.
I will continuously.
The best GM for the last 5 years.
He's not the best. He's not the best.
One of the best.
He's not the
Top
best.
3.
No, he's not. He's not the best.
Oh, you gotta be kidding.
He's not the best. And the reason he's not the best is because there's a man named Masai Ujiri alive. Don't disrespect Masai. But in regards to Danny Ainge, I'm sorry, but he's an overrated GM.
Okay, no, that's
and the reason I say he's overrated is because this is the same guy. All the issues the Celtics are going, and I will continue to say this until things change.
He didn't trade for AD.
All this goes back to them not trading for Anthony Davis. And I'm not talking about Anthony Davis like when he requested a trade. They could have traded for him much sooner. Them not trading for AD, them not trading for Jimmy Butler, them not trading for Paul George, passing on all these stars. But then 2 years ago in the offseason, they signed Kemba Walker to a max contract. That's who, and then mind you, they signed Kemba and Enes Kanter. Yeah. And then Danny Ainge goes in the press conference and says, this was our plan all along. This was plan A. Stop lying. This wasn't plan A. Plan A was Isaiah Thomas and Gordon Hayward.
Yep.
Then trade Isaiah to get Kyrie. That doesn't work out, and you sign Kemba Walker. This should be a clear indication that Kyrie is just not somebody you can just replace.
Yeah.
He is not as replaceable as people think.
Showing you that this season.
Showing you that this year. Look at the Cavs, and now look at the Celtics without Kyrie Irving. There's a clear drop in productivity at the point guard position. And I think that Kyrie has definitely separated himself from Kemba. Anyone who thought Kemba Walker was on the level of Kyrie.
Close?
No, but remember when Kyrie got traded, when Kyrie left and Kemba went there, so many people were like, Kemba is the answer. They got better. Addition by subtraction line. Goofy niggas, bro. Goofy. Head-ass people. Kemba Walker so far this season, let me tell y'all his numbers and what he's averaging.
Russell Westbrook numbers.
Yeah, he's in that Russ range right now. He's averaging 17. He's averaging 17 points, along with 4 assists and 4 rebounds, shooting 37% from the field and 35% from 3. And in his recent game, I'm not even joking. This is his actual stat line in a game, and this game was against the New Orleans Pelicans. 14 points. He shot 5 of 21 from the field. 5 of 21. 1 of 12 from 3. This guy was the definition of cardio, doing nothing but running. I need to get him some P90X, bro. He was terrible, god awful. And Kemba Walker, look, it sucks because I remember calling this and I said, why don't they just use this money that they got to just build around Tatum and Brown? Could have got a big, could have got a bench, could have moved on from there. And even if, let's say they're in the exact position now, at least you know what you are. You know what your young players are, because if your young players couldn't carry a team built around them, maybe they're not the players you thought they were. and then you move on from there. But now they're in a situation where you can't even tell how great Tatum and Brown are because they got Kemba having to take all the shots.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, this all comes down to them not having faith in their young stars to produce and carry them into the future. And now they know that they're good enough, but they can't really prove it because Kemba has to eat shots from them. Exactly. And you can't really move him to the bench because you gave him a max. And then you can't trade him because you gave him a max. And guess what? He's coming off of an injury, which you should have predicted because when small guards start to get up there in age, injury becomes bigger of a risk. And he's not Kyrie. He's not Steph. He's not Dame. He's not the elite of the elite. So why did you give him a max? All this falls on Danny Ainge's shoulders because at the end of the day, like I've said for the millionth time in this rant, they gave Kemba Walker a max contract. And that's the biggest mistake this organization's made over the last couple of years.
I agree with you. Well, Danny Ainge obviously making that trade for Kemba Walker. I mean, how many of us really thought Kemba was going to be this bad? You know what I'm saying? And
I'll actually say this. I'm going to cut you off.
Okay.
Who would have thought, and I tweeted this.
I know where you're
going.
Who
would have thought that in 2021, Terry Rozier would be better than Kemba Walker?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought that? I never would have thought that.
But like I told you a couple of weeks ago, right? The reason why I could see your point about Danny Ainge is because you're seeing a situation with your two uprising stars, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and then you add a point guard who's scored the ball first, not assist first, because you've seen that with Kyrie. How did that work out for you? That didn't work out so good
at all.
And now you let Kyrie go, right? And you go sign another point guard who's a score first and not a pass first. Obviously, I think that's
recipe for disaster.
Recipe for disaster. Anytime you have two stars, like look for example the Clippers, right? The Clippers have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, two wing players, two stars, two people who score the ball all the time. They don't go get a Kyrie Irving to compare with those guys.
There are reports they want a Lowry.
You know what I'm saying? You can't have.
They wanted Rondo.
Exactly. You can't have three guys on your offense, which their job is to score the ball first. Because like you see with the Brooklyn Nets, who took a step back? James Harden. So he can pass the ball. You know what I'm saying? And why I said this a couple of weeks ago, and I still stand by this. Whatever you can find for Kemba, I don't think the Kemba for Lonzo trade is going to work now because I said that a couple of weeks ago. I don't think the Pelicans are going to do it now because Lonzo is playing phenomenal basketball. But I thought if you could have done that then, because obviously there were trade rumors about Lonzo and Redick. I think if you could find a package for Lonzo and JJ for Kemba, I would do that. I
don't know about
because
that,
Lonzo Ball, not only does he bring his passing abilities, he brings defense also.
Dude, but then
he's a long defender. All right.
Pause.
And then you bring JJ Redick, right? Who can stretch the floor for Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I like that.
I think with the Celtics, right? They're 15-15, 500 record. They don't want to lose 2, 3, 4, 5 games because they will be on the outside looking in.
But this isn't the West.
The West.
They're competing with the Bulls and the Knicks.
Absolutely,
man.
But if you look at the East, right, the 5 to the 10 seed, it's only about 2 or 3 games that separate them.
Facts.
So you don't want to go on a losing streak. And I think with the Celtics, they have to figure this out now because Kemba Walker. We don't know how much longer he's gonna keep shooting this bad because he's been shooting.
He's bad.
Terrible. No, he's been shooting bad.
God awful.
And when we look at Tatum, boy, is Tatum good?
Yeah,
it's Tatum. He's a star.
Tatum's averaging 25 plus. Jaylen Brown's averaging 25 plus.
Tatum is a joy to watch. And I tweeted this right. Tatum at a young age, I see a lot of Kobe in him. Because when he plays, so much poise, so much talent, and just everything on display on the basketball court at that young of an age. And then you have another star.
He reminds me of a young PG sometimes.
Yes, PG, also. You know, those type of guys. And you have another star in Jaylen Brown who's also coming up. You know, he's finding his growth. He's finding his spots on the floor. And now you have Kemba who comes and takes all the shots. Who comes in, steal shots and go for 1 for 12 in a key game against the Pelicans.
Another thing about the Celtics.
It's just,
Another thing about the Celtics that many people forget is that they literally spent years getting forwards. I remember they had Jay Crowder, then they drafted Jaylen Brown, then they drafted Jason Tatum, and then they signed Gordon Hayward to a max contract. Why would you even do all of those decisions? And I get it. Tatum plays the 4 now. Yep. Jaylen Brown can play the 2, and I guess Hayward would play the 3 in that perfect world. But now look at the situation they put themselves in. Hayward gets hurt. And honestly, this may sound like a mean thing to do, but Danny Ainge is no stranger to doing mean things. We saw what he did to Isaiah Thomas. Exactly. So why did they not just trade Hayward as soon as he was cleared? because it was obvious that when Tatum and Brown hooped, even in their first year together in the playoffs, when they went to the conference finals without Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward, that Tatum and Brown were going to be better than Gordon Hayward. It was very, very clear, and they could give you more on the defensive side of the ball than Hayward could.
Absolutely.
So why not just trade Hayward, get what you can for him, and just move? They should have moved on with Brown and Tatum as the faces of their franchise as soon as they had their playoff run.
I don't know what Danny Ainge was doing.
And I get keeping Kyrie. I would try to keep Kyrie too. If I could have Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kyrie Irving, even if it fails and they lose in the first round, you have to try to make it work. I get that. But keeping Hayward for as long as they kept him and then putting him in the starting lineup when he returned, coming off of a career-threatening injury, it never makes sense. And that's why blame goes not only to Danny Ainge, but also to Brad Stevens. Blame goes to everybody in this situation other than Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I do not blame them one bit. I think they've
showed up on most nights.
Yeah, they've done their thing.
But,
I blame this on Danny,
hopefully they figure it out because, this is a team that we thought, could be competing with the best of the best, and they look like they're competing with the worst of the worst.
And there are reports that they're going to get Andre Drummond, and look, Drummond,
that's not gonna help.
Yeah, I think a lot of people need to understand Andre Drummond. I'm gonna say this real quick. He's not as impactful as people think. Like his numbers, he puts up great rebound numbers, but let's just be honest here. He stat pads a lot of his rebounds. He does. He's even admitted to missing free throws and shots on purpose. I wouldn't be shocked if he misses shots on purpose. And look, hey, I get it. You want your stats to look nice. If I was in the NBA and I was on a trash team, I probably would do that too. But other than the fact that he stat pads, offensively, he's so bad. And he takes so many dumbass shots. Yeah. It's ridiculous. And it's because he has the license to do it. And maybe in a different scenario, he have a different mindset and his head will be on straight. But I just think that there are other options out there at the big man position. And really, outside of rebounding, how much better are you getting with him as your center instead of Aaron Baines? Or not Aaron Baines, Daniel Tice. Or Tristan Thompson.
Yeah, he can actually stretch the floor.
Tice can stretch the floor, but Drummond can't do that.
Absolutely. We hope they figure it out because, like I said, this is a team that we have high expectations.
Very high.
Right now, they're not looking like it. But, we're going to go to break right now. When we return, we'll be talking about some trade rumors about Porzingis. Damian Lillard got snubbed out of the All-Star starting lineup. We'll get straight into that when we come back from the break. Don't go anywhere. First possession here. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Still here talking all things sports, and let's dive straight into it. Recently, there's been rumors going around about Kristaps Porzingis getting traded from the Mavs. Obviously, Mark Cuban decided that because, obviously that's what you're supposed to do.
You know what I'm saying?
But as we know in the NBA, anybody can get traded at
any time, anywhere.
Harrison Barnes got traded in the middle of the game. So it's the NBA.
Man was on the bench and got traded.
Absolutely. It's a business. Anything can happen.
They already told Drummond and Blake, hey, we're getting y'all out of Detroit.
Absolutely.
Stay and wear street clothes on the bench.
With the Mavs right now, it's a rumor going around that, they're shopping, listening to offers here and there about Porzingis. And I'm just going to say this. I also seen this, and I think, obviously, this is a really good one for the Mavs, right?
Oh, trading Porzingis?
Yes.
Okay.
Trading Porzingis. Because
I'd love to know your opinion.
When they made the trade for Porzingis, we thought, okay, maybe not the next Dirk, but somebody to pair with
Luka, yeah,
for the next 5 to 10 years, Another star. Well, we thought Porzingis was going to be a
so you don't think
star.
Porzingis is a star?
Right now, I think he's giving me like Chris Middleton vibes. You know what I'm saying? Just like borderline star.
I don't even think he's as good as Middleton,
borderline star. But, some of his numbers are 20 points per game, 8 rebounds per game. When you look at that on paper, it looks good. But when you watch the games, he doesn't look as sharp as he used to be. And I know, yes, we want to say injuries here and there.
I think his defense is
injuries happen, but obviously defense. I mean, was he really ever a top-notch defender? I mean, he could block shots here and there, but when you're 7'2", you're supposed to block shots. You know what I'm saying? That's suspected. But, I think with Kristaps Porzingis, listen, I got an offer, right? Why don't you make a phone call to Joe Lacob and the Golden State Warriors, right? Listen, I know you love Steph Curry, right? So you want everything to work out for your boy Steph, right?
Of course I do.
What do you think of a matchup of Steph, Clay, and Porzingis? That sounds scary to me. I don't know about you, but that sounds really scary. But listen. When you probably asking me, Well, what do the Warriors have to offer? I think if the Mavs, if the Warriors offers James Wiseman, one of Kelly Oubre or Andrew Wiggins, and I don't know their pick for next year, because I think they have Minnesota's pick for next year.
I mean, they don't have it if it's top 3 though.
Oh yeah, if it's top 3, but yeah. Minnesota.
And then I think they get the next year's pick if it's top 3.
And throw James Wiseman, one of Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins, and I don't know, some pick at the Mavs. If I'm the Mavericks, I'll do that, because as we've seen for the last 2-3 years, Kristaps Porzingis has not been able to stay healthy to save his life for anything. He always gets hurt at the most important moments for the Mavs. Last year, we seen Luka Doncic take the Mavs. Well, we seen him and Porzingis healthy. You know, they gave the Clippers problems, and we said, okay, if these two can stay really healthy, they can cause damage. But obviously, this season, it hasn't been what we thought they could be, because now they're 14-15. The Mavs are in the Western Conference. They're from the outside looking in, and this is a team that we all thought they could really make some noise in the playoffs if both Porzingis and Luka are healthy. But right now, it's not looking like it, because I don't know what's wrong with Porzingis. And like I said earlier in the show, I don't like to use injury as an excuse, because nobody's really healthy. But obviously with Porzingis, it's a really serious injury, and it obviously is nagging. But, you know, I think it's time to trade him. It's somebody that's very talented, somebody that has a lot of skills, somebody who can stretch the floor for Luka, somebody who can, I don't know, block shots. He's a really good piece. And I think right now his value is going down, and it's time to move off of him if you really want to be competing with the best of best in the West. And I think Luka, if he gets James Wiseman, one of Andrew Wiggins or Kelly Oubre, and a pick for next year or the year after, I think that's really solid for the Mavs. And the Warriors get a 3.5 star play type in Porzingis, somebody who can stretch the floor for Klay and Steph Curry, and I think win-win for everybody. So if I was the Mavs and the Warriors, I would listen to the offers. I would listen to each other, and I'll work out a deal that sends Porzingis to the Golden State Warriors. And I don't know, for somebody like a James Wiseman, one of Andrew Wiggins or Kelly Oubre, and the pick. I think it sounds good to everybody, because Porzingis, he's not going to. It sounds ridiculous to say he's not going to stay healthy. But for the last 2-3 years, I've been right. He has not been able to stay healthy. So I think if they're able to trade him, build around Luka Doncic, and get the right pieces around him, I think, you know, the Mavs will be able to take that next step, and Golden State gets a piece, you know.
I don't really hate that offer, because I know Porzingis, what he's capable of, and obviously he'd fit with Steph and Klay. But if I'm the Mavs, I'm not doing that, because I don't think a lot of people understand. Let me tell you guys something. Porzingis was coming off of a significant injury, and he was getting his legs from up under him.
This would be the second one in his career.
Yeah, second one. But it's too early to give up on that Porzingis and Luka duo, because you've already traded, you know, a lot to get him. So do everything you can to make it work. And when Porzingis first got there, we all know they struggled at first. And coming into February, they were 8-12, right? But ever since then, they're actually 6-3. Since coming into February. And in the month of February, Porzingis is averaging 23 points, along with 9 rebounds, shooting 50% from the field and 42% from 3, as well as 90% at the free throw line. So Porzingis is getting better gradually. And if you saw last year, he was averaging like 22-10 or 22-12 or something like that at the end of the season last year. So yeah, it's maybe a process type of thing, and hopefully injuries aren't a thing of the future, but we've seen other teams in scenarios like this where one of their stars are out and they have to keep going because of how talented that star is and because of the potential with that star. And you've done so much to get that player. You can't just give up that easily. Like the Sixers, they did a lot to get Embiid. They tanked so long, and then when they finally got him on the court, obviously injuries were a concern, but you can't quit so easily because you've done so much to get to this point, and you have a generational talent like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, who was looked at as a generational talent coming into the NBA. Even though we know that duo is more than likely never going to win a championship because of Ben Simmons' inefficiencies with his jump shot, you got to at least try. And I think that that's what the Mavs are doing. For them to give up, especially after the postseason that they had last year, and considering the promise of both of these two players, I mean, you can't just quit. Let's not forget they lost Steven Silas through their offensive coordinator, and they lost Seth Curry. Those were two big pieces of their offense that made them the greatest offense of all time last year. So I think that a lot of people need to understand it's not over. I think they just need to give it time and just see what these two can do, even if they miss the playoffs this year, which I don't think will happen. But if they do miss the postseason, and injuries play another factor, you got to run it back.
I think Luka is great enough that, even if Porzingis is out for an extended period of time, he can, keep you above water. And
he wasn't this year.
Exactly, and keep you fighting. But, when I look at Porzingis, he returns, right? Let's say he returns, right? I still think he's going to get injured before the rest of before the regular season is over again. That's how much I don't have faith in him staying healthy at all, because I think it's like the third or fourth time in the last 2 seasons that he has gotten hurt. So when I look at Porzingis and I look at Golden State and I look at a young talent like James Wiseman, and I look like a Andrew Wiggins or a Kelly Oubre, I'm looking at those pieces like, okay, those are young, healthy guys that can really help Luka Doncic in the playoffs, or when it comes to taking his game to the next level. And look at Porzingis. Yes, Porzingis is skillful, his talent, but he can never stay healthy. And as you said, as we all say, availability is the best talent. Like you've got to be available to be able to showcase your talent. And when you mentioned Joel, right? Porzingis is not on Joel's level. We thought he could be
of a player.
Or the talent. We look at talent.
But like it's not just the talent. It's like the potential with those two, with Porzingis and Luka. Porzingis is a perfect fit next to Luka as a big. So obviously defensively there are some things he could get better at.
Yep.
But that's something you can build around. Porzingis is still a good shot blocker. He can still be a great rim protector. He may not be the best on pick and rolls and switching and things of that nature, but that's why you build around those type of players. Like, I also think one thing people aren't considering is that the Mavs were really banking on Giannis. They were probably really banking on Giannis, and that's probably why they were willing to let go of a Seth Curry or a Steven Silas. Because let's say, to them, they're probably thinking, let's say we missed the playoffs this year. We could get Giannis anyway. And I still think that, I guess this is dead now, but a trade for Rudy Gobert was something that also should have been on the table.
Let me ask you something, right? What if all those players I mentioned from the Warriors, what if the Warriors add Draymond Green to that?
To the trade?
Yes. Do you take that if you're the Mavs?
No, I still don't take that trade, bro.
You don't take Draymond?
Because Wiseman is still not proven.
But like you said, you see the potential.
Okay, but with Luka, why are you trading for potential? You're trying to win.
Hey, Luka's not in his 10th year where you have to
Okay, but Luka's already been given expectations to compete. If you're Luka, you're trying to compete as soon as possible. You've already had a taste of playoff appearances. You already have a taste of that. So why would you settle for, okay, let's take our time? No. Your talent is now, and you're trying to win as soon as Luka's being put in conversations with Larry Bird and LeBron James already.
I think they're ridiculous, but
at this point, at this point in Luka's career, he's as good as LeBron was offensively.
Just the numbers. What has he done?
No, okay, LeBron didn't do. What did LeBron do at this point in his career?
His first year, obviously, he had literally nobody,
and in his second year, he still missed the playoffs in the East. So, like, what's the other than defense? Fine, but offensively, Luka is just as good, if not better, than LeBron was at this point. And
better numbers, I'll give you that. I'm just saying.
Why are you making this about stat? It's not just a stat thing.
How many people can we really compare to LeBron James with his first 3-4 years? Because he was he made the finals in his 4th year. Do we think Luka is gonna make the finals in his 4th year? Absolutely not.
You never know.
No,
nobody thought LeBron was gonna just walk in and make the finals by year 4.
But, Porzingis, I just hope he stays healthy because he's somebody that I think has a lot of talent and can help Luka Doncic in the playoffs. But speaking of Luka, moving on, some people have an issue with him making the All-Star game starting lineup, and somebody we're gonna talk about right now, Damian Lillard. I think he got snubbed for the All-Star for the All-Star starting lineup. Some people want to say Luka Doncic, he had better numbers, but Damian Lillard's team is 8 games above 500, and Luka Doncic is sitting in 9th or 10th place. I don't think you've got to take winning into account. I know it's a fan-based event. It's the fans.
Mm-hmm.
The fans love Luka Doncic. And more people talk about him all over the world. I mean, granted, he is from Real Madrid, so obviously he's global.
He's big.
He's big time. And Damian Lillard is, United States, North America, here and there. But I think when it comes to Damian Lillard, he's been an absolute showstopper. We also got to take into account CJ McCollum has been hurt for most of the season, and Damian Lillard has kept them afloat. He's I think they have an 18-10 record right now. They're sitting at just fifth or sixth place in the Western Conference right now, and Luka's not even in the playoffs at all. I know we all love Luka Doncic, and we all love watching him play, but when it comes to these All-Star things, you can't. If you look like 2 years down the line and you say, okay, who was the starting lineup? And you look at Damian Lillard's numbers and look at his team, like, how did that happen? But I don't think it's a big deal, but I just think, when we're doing these things, let's do it right. You know what I'm saying? And I think Damian Lillard did get snubbed for the All-Star starting spot, but, I'm not mad Luka Doncic, is starting. But I can see it because Damian Lillard has been absolutely phenomenal this season. And I think, showing him that love and showing him some credit will be putting him in the, All-Star starting lineup. But, yeah.
There was something you said.
You
said in a couple of years, people are going to look at the All-Star starting lineup. Bro, nobody's going to care about that.
Yeah.
Like, let's just be honest here. Like, in the future, all we're going to see is All-Star.
Yeah.
Like, who honestly cares who's in the starting lineup? You're still at the All-Star game.
Right.
I get the pride of it, but, like, that pride wears off, like, once you're all at the All-Star game anyway.
In a couple of years, people are going to start caring less about the All-Star.
Yeah.
All-Star
I think
game.
people, I was about to say,
if
I think
they're not already caring less.
Yeah, like, it's a fan competition.
It's a fan event.
I will say it does affect your legacy somewhat. Like, if you have, like, for example, let's say some guy played at an All-Star level for, like, his whole career, but he was in the West, and he only has, like, 2 or 3 All-Star appearances. Like, for example, Chris Webber. Chris Webber was an All-Star, All-NBA caliber power forward for a good portion of his career, a long portion of his career, but he was in the same just tough luck, same conference as Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki, and Kevin Garnett.
Like Ginobili?
Ginobili? No, Ginobili wasn't an All-Star. I mean, okay. He was an All-Star caliber, but he was a bench player. So, like,
so
it was he was hampered. Yeah.
To make the All-Star
but
team.
I would say the best case is, like, Chris Webber, because you literally are competing in the same conference with 3 of the greatest power forwards ever. Literally top 3 or top 5 power forwards ever: Dirk, Duncan, and KG. And then not only that, you have Pau Gasol coming over later on, Carlos Boozer. That was around his prime in Utah.
Obviously in the
early 2000s. Yeah, you had a lot of great bigs. Shaq. So many bigs you had to compete with for all NBAs and all All-Star teams. So I think Dame is kind of in that same position, but he's still gonna be an All-Star anyway. So
I don't think Dame loses sleep over that type of stuff.
No, yes he does. Yes he does.
You think so,
dude? Dame cares about everything.
Nah, I don't think he cares.
You don't think bro? Dame is the one who started the "I'm slept on" movement. Come on, man. And the thing that makes me mad about that stuff is that, like, if everybody says you're underrated and that you're slept on, guess what? You're not underrated or slept on.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
And it starts to get to the point where you're almost starting to get overrated.
That's when it comes to getting the necessary credentials that you can get. Like, I don't know, starting in the All-Star game.
But he's still going to be in the game anyway.
I don't know. It just means something different when the guys are like,
bro, okay, so in 15 years, are they going to say All-Star starter or All-Star?
Nobody's going to care. But I'm talking about for now. For now.
Bro.
Damian Lillard, looking at the season that he's had, he's probably like, okay, I've had a better season than Luka Doncic, so why am I not in the starting
Because
lineup?
you're not as popular.
Oh,
you want to be more popular? Why don't you get out the first round?
You are right.
Why don't you make it to a finals?
I think this is more
That's
of
if you want to be more popular.
I think
win.
This is more of a popular thing.
And guess what? Guess who did that to Dame more than anybody else? Himself. Because he chose to stay in Portland.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
It all ties to that also. So you want to be loyal, this is the stuff you got to put up with.
Moving on. Ooh, the New York Knicks. Okay, so we've both gotten stick the last couple of weeks because they're like, I
mean, it's mainly me.
Yeah, mainly you. Y'all don't talk about the Knicks. The Knicks are having a good season. And I'd like to tell you, my man, look, when you stunk it up for the last, I don't know,
couple of decades,
the last 5 years, the last 7 years, when you have a good season we've got to give them some credit. You know what I'm saying? Yes, they might have a losing record, but hey, they're in the playoffs. When in the last 10, okay, not 10 years, when in the last 5 years, at the Knicks midway through the season, have the Knicks been?
I mean, you don't have to say 5 years, dude. You could literally say a couple of decades.
Listen,
you're not pissing anybody off with that.
When in the last couple of years, right, have the Knicks mid-season been in the playoff picture? You can't remember, and I can maybe with Carmelo Anthony. You know what I'm saying? And are they gonna? I think they're gonna make the playoffs.
You think so?
I think the Knicks.
You know they're gonna get swept.
Hey, when you're the Knicks, you will take anything.
Right, I mean, now. Okay. Here's the thing.
You take the playing game.
I'll say this.
You know what I'm saying?
I'll say this. This somewhat reminds me, and it sucks that we don't have fans in a lot of these arenas, bro. Because they go crazy. Garden would have been booming,
they
go crazy.
They're actually allowing fans back in.
Oh yeah, I think they're about to in a couple weeks at the Barclays too.
Absolutely.
And whenever the Nets and the Knicks play, that's going to be a nice little game. But as it pertains to the Knicks in to be specific, the Knicks right now, they're first in opponents' points per game. They're also second in defensive rating. Offensively, they're struggling. Obviously, they're bottom 10 in both offensive rating and points per game. But they're still a great defensive team. Shout out to Tom Thibodeau. That Thibodeau effect is no joke.
You know about him.
No joke. And Julius Randle obviously having a career season looking like the Black.
Be an all-star.
He will. Dude, he's playing in New York and they're in the playoffs. He's going to make the all-star team. But he's had a resurgence campaign this year. Career highs all across the board. And he's looking like the Black Jokic. That's really what I got to say. He looks amazing right now.
Okay.
But as it pertains to the Knicks, I just think that what they're doing, that's why I said earlier, I wish we had more fans in the arenas, because it reminds me of the Nets and what they did a couple years ago, trying to establish a winning culture. Because sure, you're not going to win a championship. You're not going to get far in the postseason. But to have a winning culture when you've just been pathetic for so long is still a positive, because now we see what they turned it into. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant looked at that team and said, I like what they're doing over there. Let me go add on to that culture and make them legit. Now you're presenting New York as presentable. The Knicks haven't been presentable for years.
Absolutely.
And now they're on the verge of making a postseason appearance, barring any injury. And I think that if they make the playoffs, maybe a free agent or a guy who wants to be traded can look over there to New York and be like, I like what they're doing in New York. It looks like they're turning things around. You got a guy like Karl Anthony Towns, who may be wanting out soon. Bradley Beal, who knows how long he can hold out. I'm not saying Zach LaVine, because Zach LaVine is not leaving Chicago to go to New York.
Don't be surprised.
He wants to be the second coming of Michael Jordan, bro. Why would he leave to go be in Patrick Ewing's shadow?
Bro, that's a huge weight to put on him.
I don't care. He'll be fine. He will be fine. Can you let him be?
With the Knicks, I would say, like, obviously Julius Randle has been the best player and been the star player, but I see like productivity all around the board. When you look at RJ Barrett, somebody we don't talk about enough, he's having a breakout season for him. Quietly.
I don't know why they drafted Obi Toppin, though.
I don't know what
that was a big mistake.
Obviously, when you talk about New York, they need somebody who's a showstopper, somebody who can dunk the ball. Somebody who's flashy.
if they had fans, he would be a nice little attraction.
But hey, let's credit their pickup though for Emmanuel Quickly, because that's somebody they found in the late first round. They found that gem. He's having a great season. I think he's top 3 Rookie of the Year candidate for me. But obviously
I don't know about all
Knicks,
that.
Where do we want to see the Knicks in the playoffs? I don't know.
You don't know if you want to see the Knicks in the playoffs?
I don't know.
Why not?
Well, not to play against them, but are they fun to watch? You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
they're tough.
They're going to get swept regardless.
Whoever they play, they get swept.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I think it's going to be a hard 4 games. As stupid as that sounds, but it's going to be
a hard 4 games.
Yes.
It's going to be a nice sweep.
It's going to be a hard 4 games, but it's still going to be a sweep.
So you think that if they faced your Nets, it'd be a hard 4 games?
Oh, no, easy sweep. No, easy.
It's only going to be hard if they face anybody other than the Nets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I got that noted.
Absolutely. Nobody's stopping the Nets. Why do we keep talking about that? But anyways, we're going to go to commercial break right now. Welcome back to First Possession. Still here talking all things sports. We just covered a lot of NBA news. If you missed it, you can go back and look at it. We covered the Lakers, the Wizards, and some of the exciting teams in the NBA. But now let's go on to the NFL. Listen, NFL season might be over, but we know after the season, news never stops. Trades happen, free agency. But now we've got some news. Carson Wentz got traded to the Colts. Listen, if you've been watching the show for the last, I don't know, the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about Carson Wentz. I am the only
Actually,
one.
I think since episode 1 you've defended Carson.
Since episode
Carson
1,
Wentz.
I am the only one who has stayed on the Carson Wentz boat. And now
brother.
I am happy I did. I didn't sell my stock. Carson Wentz got traded to the Colts. That was my dream trade for him because obviously I thought best case scenario for Carson Wentz. If you want to tap into somebody, if you want to tap into a talent like Carson Wentz, you've got to put him in the best position to win. And how do you do that? You put pieces around him. You put an offensive line around him. You put receivers around him. You put a great offensive coordinator around him. And you put a great defense around him because all those things added up makes your quarterback, can make a bad quarterback a good quarterback.
Wow.
Make a good quarterback.
You just called him trash.
No. I'm going somewhere. Make a good quarterback a great quarterback. And that's what I'm saying. And
he's great.
And I think that's what happens with Carson Wentz. I think he's a good quarterback that can be great with the right pieces with him. And I think he will be great with the Colts next season because he will be a top 5 candidate.
Whatever strand of marijuana your dealer is giving you, I need that strand.
I watch the games and I see
you
the
think he's going to
talent.
be an MVP?
Top 5 easily.
Yeah, I need your strand of marijuana.
He's going to be a top 5
You're on
MVP
drugs.
candidate. With
You got to be on drugs,
and
bro.
listen, right?
Stop saying that stuff, man.
Carson Wentz is
You're making me look bad.
He's a good quarterback. He's not
You're
a
making
bad
me look
quarterback.
bad.
He was a good quarterback in a bad situation with the Philadelphia Eagles, right? He was around one of the worst offensive line in the entire league.
That why Jalen Hurts wasn't struggling?
Hey, listen, man. One of the worst defensive cores in the entire NFL.
Yeah,
one of the worst,
that's why they beat the Saints.
One of the worst defenses in the entire NFL. And now he's with one of the best of the best. Listen, the Colts won 11 games with Phillip Rivers. How much better would you say Carson Wentz is better than Phillip Rivers?
I think Carson Wentz.
Don't do that. That was
What?
a rhetorical question. Didn't need you to answer that.
Okay.
But
Wow.
I'll say this. He's a lot better than Phillip Rivers.
Didn't even let me answer the question.
Somebody who retired.
Because he knows the answer to the question.
No. Somebody who retired, Carson Wentz, I think is better. Listen, we want to say 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Listen, an MVP candidate was once an MVP candidate. It's not an MVP candidate that was 20 years old and now he's 34.
So you think once an MVP candidate, always an MVP
No,
candidate?
I think you don't lose that talent that quick. You don't lose it that quick.
There have been players who just fall off.
Okay, but not that quick. Not that. Listen, when he was
not that quick. He's been injury
When
prone.
he was an MVP candidate, right? He had weapons around him. Not just weapons, lethal weapons around him. And now he goes to the Colts. Listen, when they won, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017, right? Like I told you, who was their offensive coordinator? Frank Reich, who's also now the coach for the Colts. And when you look at Phillip Rivers, right? When you look at the Colts, Phillip Rivers won 11 games with them. I'll say, okay, now you take out Phillip Rivers and add Carson Wentz. I say you win 12 to 13 games. So the Colts could be looking at a 12 to 4 season or 13 to 3 season. And let's not forget, in the playoffs, they almost upsetted the Buffalo Bills. Almost. So
which low-key is a testament to the Bills being a little sus. More than the Colts being that good.
Granted, but you also want to give the Colts some credit.
Of course.
And now you add Carson Wentz, who's a former MVP
Phillip
candidate,
Rivers.
somebody with a lot of skill and talent.
Does he have this, though?
Yes, he does.
Oh, he does?
Yes,
then
he
why
does.
did he lead the league in interceptions?
First of all, Doug Peterson was immature about the whole situation.
Oh, my God.
And handling the quarterback situation.
Stop it.
And now he's with a grown
Stop making excuses. You're making excuses for Carson Wentz,
These
bro.
are real things that happen.
No. What you're doing is you're deflecting blame. At the end of the day, Doug Peterson is not going out there and telling Carson Wentz to hold on to the ball forever, looking for the big play. There are times where Carson Wentz can check it down or go to somebody else, and he's always looking for the big play.
In the offensive line, doesn't he?
Okay, but
and
the
the
thing
receiving
is,
doesn't he?
Carson Wentz makes everybody else's job more difficult than it needs to be.
That's inaccurate.
Yes, it is, because let me tell you some numbers. Carson Wentz led the league in interceptions, and he didn't even play the last 4 games. He was 3-8-1 as a starter in the NFL. He completed less than 60% of his passes. He also led the league in interceptions without playing the last couple of games. He was sacked more than any other QB in the NFL for the most yards as well. And a lot of that is not only due to the fact that their offensive line did have struggles, I will admit, but he also held onto the ball forever, looking for the big play on numerous occasions and not actually checking down when he's supposed to be doing so. And there were also reports that he changed plays at the line of scrimmage, and a lot of those plays could have been easy run plays or checkdowns for Miles Sanders, which I assume, because Miles Sanders is no scrub. He's actually really solid. They didn't even utilize him well in the offense. And sure, you could put some blame on Doug Peterson because at the end of the day, you're the coach. You're supposed to overrule what Carson Wentz does. But if your player's not following instructions and he has a big head because of people like you saying he's an MVP caliber player, off of just 12 or 13 games that we saw 4 years ago, and we didn't even see him play in the postseason, in which his backup took them to the Super Bowl. No shit, he's not following coach's instructions.
I don't just look at the numbers. Granted, I'll give you that. Okay, the interception rate, it was bad. Granted, I'll give you that. But I don't just look at the numbers. I watch the games.
Okay, so if you watch the games, that means you see him underthrow his receivers. You see him overthrow his receivers. He almost killed Zach Ertz a million times overthrowing Zach Ertz. And not only that, not only does he underthrow, but you see him hold the ball forever in the pocket.
First of all, Zach Ertz has been injury prone the last 2 years. Wait.
You know why? Because he gets overthrown a lot.
Okay, great. But I also, when I watch the games, I see Carson Wentz receivers don't get enough separation. They're never open, right? I see his offensive line. He gets pressured more than almost any quarterback in the entire
league. Then why is it that he can't?
That's what I see when I watch the games. I see his defense give up more yards. I see all of that when I watch the games. And I say, okay, when you have a talent league, I don't care who you are. Listen, we'll see with Deshaun Watson. Would you say Deshaun Watson is a bad quarterback? No, absolutely not. When you look at the Texas record, you ask, okay, why are they 4-12? Because he had a bad squad around him.
So that's an excuse to get outplayed by Daniel Jones twice?
Listen, I don't care how good you are, right? If you don't have the right guys around you, if you don't have lethal weapons around you, they will not make.
So why is it that when Carson Wentz
will not?
So why is it that when Carson Wentz went out, they were able to beat the Saints? Why is it that Jalen Hurts? Why is it against the Arizona Cardinals, Jalen Hurts was able to put up monster numbers?
Where did they go with that?
What do you mean where'd they go with that?
They didn't go anywhere.
They actually were competitive in some games in comparison to Carson Wentz, in which they're losing most of these games and not even being competitive.
Listen,
the offense has no fire. Their offense has no juice.
Even when Jalen Hurts came in, right?
He
was still scrambling for his life.
Didn't.
Exactly. He was still scrambling for his life.
Okay, but you're not
because
getting.
He can make outside plays with his leg. He's that much better.
But Wentz is still fairly mobile, bro.
He is.
Okay, and that's still on Wentz that he wasn't able to take advantage of that skill set and that ability to get out of pressure. And you can't just act like he doesn't have blame. He was still holding the ball forever. He's been criticized for always looking for the big play. Does he not do that?
All of that is correct. But two things can be correct at once. And I think one is more correct than the other.
Now you're stealing my catchphrase.
No. I think one is more correct than the other.
Correct?
And the one that is more correct is he didn't have lethal weapons.
Okay, but another thing you don't consider is that they're in a shitty division. They're in a division with the Cowboys, the Redskins, and the Giants. 3 teams that their quarterbacks are Daniel Jones, Taylor Heineke, and Alex Smith. Dak Prescott until he got hurt 4 games into the season, which became Andy Dalton. So if those are the QBs you're competing with and all of them have below 500 records, the team that made the playoffs in that division was 7-9. Why is it that Carson Wentz can't get it done in the division that week? And now you're sitting here saying he's going to be an MVP candidate because he goes to the Colts. And yes, I agree that the Colts are a good situation for him, but let's not forget they're also in a terrible division with the Texans, who are probably going to be one of the worst teams in the league next year. Considering Deshaun Watson, I assume he will be traded. Not only that, you have the Titans, who are going to be solid next year. I agree with that. But then on the other hand, you have the Jaguars, who are not going to be competing whatsoever. They won't be competing. They will not be competing. They'll be fun and entertaining, but they will not be competing for nothing.
But you still got the Titans there.
The Titans are legit.
Exactly.
But you're still forgetting that there's still going to be 2 throwaway games. Those are going to be bye weeks for them. So I expect them to get. Come on.
We don't know. We don't know that. We don't know if Deshaun's going to get
traded. Okay, fair enough. But regardless, they're still going into a weak division. And if that's the case, then there really is no excuse for Carson Wentz to play bad next year, right?
No, I'm predicting about 12 to 13 wins. Anything short of that. Okay, I'll give him a pass with 11, right? But 10 wins for me is unacceptable because he has a squad around him. Listen, he has Jonathan Taylor, who's one of the best running backs in the entire league. He has a receiving core.
So you think they're going to win the division?
Michael, absolutely.
They're going to be better than the Titans?
100%. Because they've got a defense from top to bottom, and I think they'll be absolutely fine. But anyways, let's move on to our final and last segment of the day. a video came online about Cam Newton and getting heckled by I don't know how old this is.
I don't even know.
14 to 15.
Yeah,
but he was.
We're not gonna put his name out there.
Yeah, well, I don't even know his name, but
I don't want to throw it out there anyway.
Yeah, it's fine. Cam Newton was getting heckled by this young man, young boy actually, calling him trash.
Yeah, he's gonna be poor.
But what was your first reaction to this? Because it was silly to me.
I mean, my reaction, I didn't even know at first that Cam owned the camp.
Yeah.
So let's even throw that out the window for a sec, which is just more disrespect. But this is a guy who's been successful on all levels. High school,
literally every level.
NFL, college, won a Heisman championship, won an MVP, and went to the Super Bowl. Like, this is a guy that's helped pave the way for black quarterbacks in the NFL.
Absolutely.
And you got this young, I assume, African-American kid talking all this nonsense. And you know, I don't want to get on him too much because, like I said, you know, he's just a young kid.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes. If a lot of my mistakes in the past were publicized, like on camera every second, who knows where I'd be in life, you know? And I'm not saying I went out there and disrespected an athlete.
Yeah.
I never did that. But, you know, people make mistakes. That's my point here. And in the case of this kid, this was a dumb, idiotic mistake. This guy is not only successful on all those levels, even if he fell off this year. He's still more successful than a lot of people that make it in the NFL anyway.
He's got millions in the bank.
And I'm not even trying to be mean, but what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Aren't you attending his camp? And then you're going to sit there and say he's about to be poor?
And I think you pay for those camps anyways.
Exactly. You're paying hella money. You're putting money in his pockets and you're telling him he's about to be poor. Imagine me walking up to my boss and I'm like, oh, you had a down year with your stocks and stuff. Well, you're about to be poor. Meanwhile, I'm making money for him. So that doesn't even make sense, you know? And like I said, he's a young kid. He'll get over this. And I know he's probably getting bullied online right now, which really I can't even say it sucks because he asked for it.
He actually apologized. Well,
I saw his apology.
Tweeted out an apology. And listen, what I'm gonna say is, I think he got a little over himself because when you see not many people get the opportunity, especially like African American young boys like us. You know, we don't get that many opportunities where we're like literally athlete. NFL athletes right there in front of us. You know, I think, you know, he tried to get some clout off of that, which was really stupid. And I think, you know, he has taken some time. At first, I was like, okay, that's really dumb. But, you know, think about it. He looked about 14 or 15 years old, maybe 16. I don't know. Who cares? So it's probably a freshman or sophomore in high school. You know, I think it's a good learning experience for him. I just hope this doesn't ruin, for the rest of his career as a football player, because his name might come up, I don't know, in a draft. Or
I mean, if you're good, you're good.
I mean, if you're good, you're good, but absolutely. But I think it's a huge learning experience for him. But Cam Newton, the disrespect has to stop because this guy's really accomplished everything at every level.
Like, even if, worst case scenario, obviously I don't wish this for Cam, but even if that was the last year Cam's a starter in the NFL, like if he were to just fall off the face of the earth, he still has nothing to really be ashamed about his career.
Nothing.
He's accomplished everything a quarterback could. Obviously, he didn't win a Super Bowl.
How many guys really win?
How many guys get that Super Bowl? He went to a Super Bowl.
Rodgers is considered one of the greats ever, and he
For
only
example,
has one.
Phillip Rivers to some people is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Cam Newton's accomplished more than Phillip Rivers ever has.
You know,
Cam Newton will be in the Hall of Fame one day, more than likely.
Debatable.
I mean, he probably will.
Highly debatable.
You don't think Cam will make it?
We'll see. I think that MVP,
I mean, the way they just be letting anybody in the NFL
in the Super Bowl probably gets it.
Yeah,
probably gets him in. But you know, good for that kid.
Yeah,
anyways,
whatever.
But that's a wrap for today, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to First Possession. Once again, I'm your host, John Iagoro, here with my partner, David Ogede.
Yes, sir. Young Mustard in the building.
We will be coming back with another episode, so you guys stay tuned. We appreciate you guys for tuning in just to hear me and this guy talk sports that we're really passionate about. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like a video, comment it, share it with your friends if you find any of our takes really interesting. And we appreciate you guys, and we'll be back with another episode in a couple of days. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys. Peace out. We are out.